Welcome, my friend, to Purrfect Sleep Stories, a quiet place made of purring and deep rest. Tonight's story is called Why Cats Purr, the Science of Comfort, a calm exploration of the sound that soothes cats and soothes the humans who love them. Before we begin, let's help the body remember how to rest, and let the nervous system remember safety. If it feels comfortable, let your eyes soften or close. Notice the air moving in around you, cool as it enters through your nose, and warm as it leaves through your mouth. We'll breathe together now. Not deeply, not forcefully, just slow enough to calm the rhythm within. Inhale softly for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for a gentle pause. And exhale for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let the next breath arrive whenever it wishes. Each time you exhale a little longer than you inhale, tiny nerves along the diaphragm signal the vagus nerve, the body's pathway of calm, telling the heart, the lungs, the core that everything is safe. Again, a gentle breath in, 4, and out, 6. Slow, smooth, unhurried. As you breathe this way, the heartbeat steadies, the muscles loosen, and the mind begins to drift from thought into rhythm. Somewhere nearby, perhaps your cat has already found their spot, a warm circle on the blanket, a quiet hum waiting to join this story. If they're listening with you tonight, you can tell us their name in the comments. It's always peaceful to know who's sharing this calm from around the world. And if you find comfort here, take a moment, softly, to subscribe, so each new story finds you right when you need to rest. Now, let the breath slow. Let the sound of purring fill the edges of the room, and drift with me into the quiet wonder of tonight's tale. In the stillness of a quiet room, a cat curls into a crescent of warmth. The air hums with a low, steady vibration, soft enough to blend with your own breathing. It rises and falls in even waves, a sound that feels ancient, as though the body itself remembers it. This is purring, one of nature's most familiar and most mysterious sounds. Every domestic cat can purr, from the tiniest newborn to the oldest companion. But even now, after centuries of living beside them, science continues to marvel at how this simple sound is made. When the cat inhales, tiny muscles in its larynx, the voice box, tighten and relax in rhythm. These contractions cause the glottis, the narrow opening between the vocal folds, to open and close several times per second. As air passes through, each cycle produces a pulse of sound. What seems like a single continuous tone is actually dozens of rapid vibrations layered into one smooth hum. The pattern is astonishingly precise. In 1944, using early high-speed recording equipment, researchers first discovered that a cat's purr occurs not just when it exhales, but also when it breathes in. That simple fact, purring on both the inhale and exhale, sets cats apart from nearly all other mammals. On average, these muscle contractions occur between 25 and 150 times every second. To the human ear, the result is seamless, but if you could slow it down, you'd hear the same delicate flutter that exists inside a hummingbird's wings, or the tremolo of a cello string drawn softly by hand. The mechanism behind it originates in the cat's brainstem, where a cluster of neurons fires rhythmically like a biological metronome. Those impulses travel down the recurrent laryngeal nerve, triggering the tiny movements that create vibration. This nerve is part of the vagus system, the same pathway that carries signals to the heart, lungs, and digestive organs. The purr, in essence, is tied directly into the network that governs calm. Veterinary researchers have measured how little effort this sound requires. Even while asleep, cats can maintain a soft purr without increasing their breathing rate or using significant energy. It is nearly autonomous, a natural loop of breath and resonance. For the cat, this built-in hum is not only an expression of contentment, it is a steady internal rhythm, a signature of balance and well-being. When a cat purrs, its whole body participates. The chest vibrates, the skin quivers slightly, and even the air around it seems to shimmer. If you rest your hand on its side, you can feel that pulse radiating through the fur, a gentle repeating wave, like the hush of wind through grass. Historians and naturalists have written about this sound for millennia. Aristotle noted it as a pleasing murmur from the throat. In the 1600s, English anatomist Edward Tyson described the cat's vocal cords with fascination, calling the purr a soft quivering of the windpipe. Yet it wasn't until modern electromyography studies in the late 20th century that scientists confirmed purring is produced by neurological signals, not by conscious intent. That is part of the wonder. A cat doesn't choose to purr in the way we choose to speak. The sound simply happens, arising from within like breath itself. It may accompany pleasure, rest, or quiet attention. It may appear while the eyes half close and the paws flex in a rhythm older than memory. Whatever the reason, the purr is constant in its message, a vibration that marks safety, self-possession, and trust. Inside the quiet architecture of a cat's body, purring begins as a signal deep in the brainstem. There, a small group of neurons, known in neurology as a repetitive neural oscillator, fires in perfect rhythm, like a metronome ticking within living tissue. These impulses travel through the recurrent laryngeal nerve, a branch of the vagus nerve that loops down toward the chest before curving back up to the larynx. Every pulse instructs the muscles around the glottis to tighten and release, 25 to 150 times each second. Air flows past the vibrating folds, and the purr begins, a symphony made from breath, pressure, and nerve. Because the vagus nerve also governs heart rate, breathing, and digestive calm, Each vibration naturally synchronizes with the body's relaxation response. That is why a purring cat often appears utterly at ease. Its heartbeat slows, its breathing evens, its entire frame sinks into rest. Researchers comparing vocal mechanisms across mammals have found that the cat's larynx is unusually specialized. Within it lie two bands of tissue, the true vocal folds and the vestibular folds, that can flutter in alternating sequence. This arrangement lets the cat maintain vibration through both inhalation and exhalation. Dogs, primates, and most other mammals can only phonate while exhaling. The cat's anatomy, in other words, was refined by evolution to sustain a continuous flow of sound. When scientists first recorded these vibrations with sensitive microphones and oscilloscopes, they were astonished at the precision. The waveforms showed perfectly spaced peaks, a living, mechanical rhythm more stable than many man-made instruments. Some veterinary acousticians have described it as a biological tuning fork. The low-frequency energy generated by those movements travels not only through the air, but also through the cat's skeleton and soft tissue. In slow-motion footage, the skin along the cat's flank quivers gently with each cycle, spreading the vibration like ripples through water. To conserve energy, the cat's diaphragm plays a crucial supporting role. As it expands and contracts during normal breathing, it helps draw air through the glottis without extra muscular effort. That is why cats can purr for hours, even while napping, without showing fatigue. The system runs almost automatically, a closed loop of nerve, muscle, and air. From an evolutionary standpoint, this self-contained sound design is elegant. It requires little energy, produces no conspicuous noise that might attract predators, and yet provides constant sensory feedback to the cat's own nervous system. It is both expression and regulation, a mechanism that keeps the body in quiet equilibrium. Modern neuroimaging has revealed that during relaxed purring, the cat's brain shows heightened activity in regions linked to contentment and social bonding, similar to those seen in other mammals during gentle touch. It suggests that the cat's body and emotional state reinforce one another, creating a loop of calm that sustains itself as long as the vibration continues. So while the purr may seem effortless, it is a masterpiece of coordination, a dialogue between brain and body, between instinct and structure. Every breath becomes a note, every heartbeat part of the score. What we hear as a single sound is in truth a symphony of motion happening hundreds of times each second. When scientists first measured the frequency of a cat's purr, they expected to find a random range of vibration, perhaps a byproduct of breathing or mood. Instead, they found order. Every waveform traced on the recording screen fell into precise, repeating patterns. The strongest pulses clustered between 25 and 50 Hertz, with softer harmonics that reached toward 120. Those numbers meant something. In human and veterinary medicine, Vibrations within this same low-frequency band are known to stimulate the growth of bone and soft tissue. Physical therapists and orthopedists have used mechanical vibration at 20 to 50 Hertz to encourage cell regeneration, increase blood flow, and speed recovery after fractures. When the research teams overlaid their data, they realized that the domestic cat had been producing those same healing frequencies for as long as the species had existed. In 2001, acoustic biologist Elizabeth von Mugtenthaler at the Fauna Communications Research Institute recorded a wide range of felines, from house cats to cheetahs, servals, and cougars. She found that every true purring species fell within that same therapeutic band. It was as if evolution had tuned the feline body to hum in the language of repair. That discovery led to a new hypothesis. Perhaps purring is not only communication, but self-maintenance. A vibration used instinctively to strengthen bones, soothe muscles, and stabilize internal rhythms during rest. Consider the cat's daily life. It moves with bursts of energy, swift leaps, sprints, and precise landings, followed by hours of stillness. Extended inactivity can weaken bones in many mammals, but not in cats. Their bone density remains high, their muscles stay supple. Researchers proposed that the micro-vibrations of purring may counteract the effects of immobility, keeping tissues oxygenated and responsive even during long periods of repose. In laboratory settings, low-frequency sound exposure has been shown to increase the production of osteoblasts, the cells that build new bone, and to enhance circulation in soft tissue. Cats seem to carry that therapy within them. Each gentle pulse moves through the chest wall, transferring energy molecule by molecule through muscle and marrow. To feel it firsthand, place your hand against a cat's side while it purrs. Beneath your palm, you'll sense a faint tremor, steady as a heartbeat, yet slower, a hidden metronome beneath fur and skin. The vibration travels outward through your hand, a reminder that sound is touch in motion. What begins as a whisper in the larynx becomes a wave that envelops both bodies, the cat and the human, sharing a quiet field of resonance. Though science stops short of claiming that a cat can heal a human through sound, the overlap in biology is striking. Frequencies that strengthen tissue also calm the nervous system. They lower blood pressure, steady breath, and slow the release of stress hormones. When a person says, "I feel better when my cat purrs on me," there is measurable physiology behind that feeling. Purring, then, may be both cause and consequence of calm. A body at ease produces the sound, and the sound itself deepens that ease. A loop of gentle feedback that keeps the system balanced. Some researchers describe it as vibrational homeostasis, a term that simply means the maintenance of internal equilibrium through sound. Each note of the purr becomes a small act of regulation, keeping the cat's organs, bones, and breath in quiet conversation. And though we cannot see the process, we can feel its presence. It is there in the softness of fur under your fingers, in the warmth that spreads when the vibration meets your skin, in the way tension leaves the room without a word. The science explains the mechanics, but the experience explains why it matters.
To understand the purr,
we must look beyond anatomy and frequency. It is not only a vibration within the body, but also a quiet language that connects lives. Cats are masters of subtle expression. Where a dog uses sound to fill space, the cat often chooses silence, a whisper instead of a shout, a gesture instead of a call. Every part of its body can speak. The tail that curves like punctuation, the whiskers that shift to mark emotion, the slow blink that replaces words of trust. Among these expressions, the purr stands apart. It is the sound of presence itself, a soft announcement that says, "I am here and all is well." Kittens learn this language within hours of being born. Blind and nearly deaf, they find their mother by vibration. Her purr pulses through the nest like a beacon in darkness. When the kittens nurse, they respond with their own faint hums, a rhythmic back and forth that guides feeding and warmth. It is one of the earliest forms of communication in the feline world, a tactile dialogue of breath and body. As the kittens grow, that sound becomes their emotional signature. They purr when they are content, when they seek reassurance, and even when they are quietly curious about the world. It is both self-soothing and social, a vibration that regulates the cat's inner state while signaling safety to those nearby. When domestic cats began living beside humans some 10,000 years ago, this gentle language adapted to include us. The archaeologist Jean-Denis Vallin, who unearthed one of the oldest known burials of a cat beside a human in Cyprus, wrote that early farmers may have valued not only the cat's hunting skill, but its calm demeanor. The steady presence of a purring animal in a home filled with flickering firelight would have carried a sense of peace as valuable as any practical service. Modern research supports that intuition. At the University of Sussex, behavioral ecologist Dr. Karen McComb and her colleagues analyzed recordings of what they called the solicitation purr, a variation cats use when asking humans for attention or food. Within that sound, they discovered a subtle, high-pitched cry embedded in the lower hum, around 300 hertz. It resembled the frequency of a human infant's call for care. When played for volunteers, people consistently found these purrs more compelling and harder to ignore. The study revealed how deeply intertwined the feline voice has become with the human ear. Yet not all purrs are requests. Most carry no plea at all. They emerge in moments of closeness, when a cat lies beside a trusted companion, when it needs soft fabric or rests in sunlight with its eyes half closed. These neutral or contented purrs create an acoustic atmosphere that signals peace to everyone within it. Even large cats share a version of this vocabulary. Servals, cheetahs, and cougars emit continuous purrs when relaxed or grooming. Though lions and tigers cannot maintain a two-way purr through inhalation and exhalation, they too produce low, rumbling tones during rest and social contact, a reminder that the roots of this behavior run deep within the feline lineage. For humans, the message is timeless. When a cat rests near us and hums, we feel the signal even before we hear it. It moves through the air, through the shared warmth of space, and into our own nervous systems. Somewhere inside, the body recognizes it, the same slow rhythm that governs safe connection, steady breath, and the sound of home. In that way, purring is both a conversation and a mirror. It tells us what calm feels like. It invites us into stillness without words. And when we answer simply by being there, breathing, listening, sharing the same quiet field of sound, the dialogue is complete. To trace the story of purring, we travel far beyond living rooms and hearths, back through forests, grasslands, and deserts, to the earliest members of the cat family. The modern cat, Felis catus, belongs to the biological family Felidae. That family divides into two great branches, the Pantherinae, big cats such as lions, tigers, and leopards, and the feline, the smaller cats, which include the serval, ocelot, cougar, and domestic cat. Only the feline truly purr continuously, both when breathing in and breathing out. Their cousins in the Pantherinae group can produce a single note purr while exhaling, but cannot sustain it through both phases of breath. Instead, those large cats evolved the capacity to roar, a dramatic sound created by specialized vocal folds and a partially flexible hyoid bone. In purring cats, that same hyoid bone is completely ossified, solid, rigid, giving the larynx the stability needed to create rapid, fine-tuned vibration. This small anatomical difference marked a major evolutionary split. One lineage favored power and display, the other quiet communication and subtle connection. Purring likely offered evolutionary advantages to small, solitary hunters. It allowed them to communicate with their young or close companions without alerting larger predators. In dense grass or twilight shade, a quiet vibration could signal safety, a reunion, or contentment, all without revealing their location. It was an invisible thread of sound woven into the survival of the species. Modern acoustic studies of wild cats have found that purring frequencies remain remarkably consistent across species and continents. A serval in the African savanna, a bobcat in the forests of North America, and a domestic cat on a window ledge in Tokyo all purr within roughly the same range, about 20 to 150 hertz. Across 10 million years of evolution, the language of calm has barely changed. The earliest ancestor of today's domestic cat is the African wildcat Felis libica. Genetic and archaeological evidence show that humans and wildcats first crossed paths in the Fertile Crescent some 10,000 years ago, when early farmers began storing grain. Where grain was stored, rodents gathered, and where rodents gathered, wildcats followed. The relationship began as quiet coexistence, a partnership of patience and presence. Over generations, those wildcats that tolerated humans and whose calm nature allowed them to stay near became the ancestors of modern domestic cats. Archaeologists in Cyprus discovered one of the earliest known signs of this bond: a human and a cat buried together about 9,500 years ago. Their graves lay side by side, a testament to shared trust long before written history. No other domesticated animal entered human life with so little coercion. Cats chose us as much as we chose them. As they spread along trade routes, their quiet resilience earned them favor in cultures around the world. In ancient Egypt, cats were companions and protectors, their likeness carved into amulets and painted on tomb walls. In China, they were symbols of good fortune and serenity. In Japan, the maneki neko, the beckoning cat, became a figure of welcome. Everywhere they went, the purr followed, soft, steady, unbroken, a sound that carried no command, only presence. Today, when you hear that sound at home, you are listening to an unbroken lineage, a vibration that has passed through generations of wild ancestors and quiet companions, through temple steps and candlelit rooms, until it arrived here, resting softly in the dark beside you. After motion comes stillness. Every creature must find the point where energy dissolves back into calm. For the cat, that transition is seamless. It moves from alert precision to utter rest with the same grace it uses to leap. And often, that shift is marked by a soft vibration rising in the chest, a signal that the body has entered repair. Veterinary physiologists have observed that purring frequently appears during the body's natural recovery cycles, after play, grooming, or long stretches of wakefulness. Heart rate monitors show that the rhythm of the purr synchronizes with slower breathing patterns and steadier cardiac function. It is, in effect, a built-in regulation system, one that restores equilibrium without conscious effort. This connection to the vagus nerve is one reason purring is so closely tied to calm. The same network that guides a cat's heartbeat, digestion, and breath also carries the impulses that create vibration. Each pulse of sound reinforces messages of safety, lowering stress hormones and allowing muscles to release stored tension. The cat hums itself back into balance. Those low frequencies, 25 to 50 hertz, do more than soothe the nerves. They travel through muscle and bone as mechanical energy, creating subtle micro-movements that help maintain tissue flexibility and density. In clinical rehabilitation, similar vibrations are applied externally to reduce inflammation and stimulate circulation. The cat carries this therapy within its own body, using sound instead of machinery. Imagine a cat resting after a climb, its flank rising and falling in slow waves of breath. Inside, the diaphragm expands like a sail, drawing air through the throat as the laryngeal muscles flutter in rhythm. The sound spreads through ribs and limbs like a quiet percussion beneath the skin. It is both music and maintenance, a pattern that keeps every system tuned to harmony. Some zoologists describe this state as active rest. Even in stillness, the cat's physiology is gently engaged, its tissues alive with motion too small to see. Nothing is wasted. No energy sits idle. The purr converts calm into restoration, turning rest itself into a kind of movement. Behaviorists have noted that cats often purr while lying in sunlight or beside familiar companions. In these moments, the sound expands beyond the self. It becomes environmental, a field of vibration that softens everything within its reach. If another cat lies nearby, its breathing often falls into the same rhythm. In human homes, people unconsciously mirror that pattern too. Our breath slows, our shoulders drop, and the whole room settles into coherence. This quiet reciprocity is not mystical. It is physics and biology entwined. Vibration begets resonance. When two systems share a frequency, they align. The cat's body creates that frequency naturally, and in doing so, it invites the space around it to join the same calm pulse. So when we speak of the restorative power of the purr, we are describing a real phenomenon, one that reaches from the cellular level to the emotional atmosphere of a home. Each breath becomes a note of renewal, each vibration a reminder that healing need not be loud or visible. Sometimes it arrives in the smallest sound imaginable, a hum at the edge of silence that says everything is already mending. When a cat curls beside a person and begins to purr, two very different nervous systems start to converse. The exchange is silent, but measurable in every pulse and breath. Studies in human-animal interaction show that gentle contact with a pet, especially the rhythmic pressure of stroking fur, can lower blood pressure within minutes. Electrocardiograms record slower heart rates, while cortisol, the hormone of stress, drops steadily in the bloodstream. At the same time, oxytocin, the molecule linked to trust and bonding, rises. The body interprets the cat's presence as safety itself. The cat receives signals in return. Domestic cats recognize human tone and expression. They orient toward our voices, and many mirror our relaxation cues. When we speak softly, they settle more quickly. When our breathing slows, their own respiration sometimes follows. Two species, once separated by evolution, meet in the shared language of calm. The purr strengthens that bridge. Low-frequency sound travels through air and skin with a tactile softness that humans can feel even at a distance. For people who live alone, the constant companionship of that vibration has been linked to lower rates of perceived loneliness and anxiety. In clinical settings, animal-assisted therapy programs have introduced cats to nursing homes and hospitals, not for play, but for quiet companionship. Patients describe the sessions as peaceful, comforting, like sitting in sunlight. Nurses note calmer moods, steadier sleep, and fewer spikes in blood pressure. Researchers at the University of Missouri found that pet owners with cats had a statistically significant reduction in the risk of cardiovascular events compared to non-owners. While many factors contribute to heart health, the team concluded that the habitual relaxation response triggered by feline companionship likely plays a role. For the cat, the bond is equally profound. Behavioral studies at Oregon State University demonstrate that many domestic cats form attachment patterns to humans similar to those seen in infants with caregivers, seeking proximity for comfort, displaying calm in secure environments, and showing stress when separated. When reunited, they often greet with a purr rather than a cry, as though to restore equilibrium between both hearts. Across cultures, this shared tranquility has left its mark in art and story. In ancient Egypt, Households kept carved figures of sleeping cats to symbolize harmony at home. Japanese woodblock prints depict cats dozing beside their owners, their purr suggested by faint lines in the air. Even in modern literature, writers return to the same image, the cat as a keeper of stillness, guardian of ordinary peace. There is science beneath the poetry. Sound waves at 25 to 50 hertz affect the human nervous system much as they do the cat's, stimulating the parasympathetic response, quieting the amygdala, and easing muscle tension along the spine. To listen to a purr is, in small ways, to borrow another species' method of self-regulation. That may be the deepest secret of the cat's appeal. Long before words, before reason or explanation, the body recognizes resonance. The vibration says what language cannot. You are safe here. The world is steady again. And so, night after night, we invite them into our homes, and they invite us back into rhythm. Two species breathing together, each teaching the other how to rest. The story drifts to silence now, but the sound beneath it remains, that low, steady hum that carries through the night. Somewhere nearby, a cat may be resting in its quiet corner, eyes half closed, breath slow and sure. Each vibration moving through its body is a whisper of balance, a reminder that rest is not absence, but restoration. Let that same rhythm guide you now. If you wish, match your breath once more to the calm you hear. Inhale softly, 4, and exhale, 6, unhurried, easy, complete. The air feels warmer on the way out, the muscles softer, the thoughts a little farther away. This is the language of safety, the same language a cat speaks when it purrs. Nothing to do, nothing to fix. Only the simple act of being here, quiet, breathing, wrapped in the gentlest sound nature ever made. Let the purring fade into distance. Let your body follow. And as you drift into sleep, remember, the world hums with its own kind of peace.